There's a major colour article linked with that programme in the December issue of the BBC Wildlife magazine, which is currently on sale. And the River Danube will also be featured in the last programme of the present series of Nature on BBC2 this coming Wednesday evening at 8:30. A selection of photographs from the BBC's natural history programmes makes up next year's World About Us calendar, which is now available from booksellers.
Entertainment for Christmas on BBC2 includes the Everly Brothers. Sky play the sounds of Christmas at Drury Lane. Whistle Test presents a live concert by Paul Young and the Royal Family from London's Hammersmith Odeon. And as 1983 draws to a close, a chance to take a light-hearted look back at the year's political events in A Clip Round the Year.
And then I'll be playing host to, well, a host of laughter, to Norman Wisdom, one of the funniest men Britain has ever produced. And out of Russia, a very funny man indeed, called Yakov Smirnov. And for song, Bertice Redding. Join me, Christmas evening, The Bob Monkhouse Show.
Entertainment for Christmas on BBC2.
The Sunday Thriller is about to start on BBC One. It's about a series of strange murders of the stars of a highly successful American television soap opera. Robert Vaughan and Suzanne Plachette head the cast of Studio Murders. Here on 2 in 5 Minutes Did You See, with LUDOVIC Kennedy reviewing some of the main television offerings of the past week. That's after News on 2 now at 8:40 with Jan Leeming.
The Harrods bombing, 22 people are still in hospital. All those killed by yesterday's car bomb have now been identified. The terrorists used a blue Austin like this one. Police want to talk to anyone who saw it. Police say the bomb was triggered off by a timing device, not by remote control as they suspected earlier. Of the 15 seriously injured, 4 are police officers. The 5 people who died have all been named. They were Philip Geddes, who was 24, from Lambeth, a Daily Express journalist. Mrs. Caroline Cochrane-Patrick, who'd been living in northwest London, she was 25 and had a 2-year-old son. Kenneth Salverson, a 28-year-old American. The 2 dead police officers are Sergeant Noel Lane, 28, who was married, and woman police constable Jane Arbuthnot, who was 22. Clive Ferguson has been following the police investigation at Harrods.
The damage caused by the explosion was more widespread than has been seen in London for many years. Almost every pane of glass along one complete side of Harrods had been shattered. Of the car in which the bomb had been placed, all that remained was a mass of tangled metal and bits of tyres. Forensic experts were still sifting through the remains this afternoon, searching for any clues to help them track down the bombers. So fierce was the blast that part of the car had been blown in the air, coming to rest precariously on a roof high above the street. All along the street, cars parked by Christmas shoppers yesterday carried the scars of the explosion. It's now clear that the 30 pounds of explosives in the car, twice the amount police first thought, was detonated by a timing device. It had first been thought that terrorists using a remote control device were waiting until police approached the car before setting off the bomb. But the timing of the telephoned warning about the car bomb still meant that bombers knew police would be searching vehicles in the area. So it was they who took the full force of the blast.
The inspector and his sergeant arrived next to, just in part, virtually next door to the car in which the bomb had been placed. As they both got out of the vehicle, the bomb exploded. The sergeant was killed instantly. The inspector received very serious injuries. They were very, very good officers. They acted with tremendous courage and bravery. If it hadn't been for the determination they showed and the courage and professionalism displayed, there is no doubt about it that the casualty toll would have been far greater.
Harrods still haven't been allowed to inspect how badly their building and stock in the menswear department has been damaged, though they reckon to have lost £1 million in takings yesterday. Today, staff reported for duty to help clear up inside the store, though most of it was unaffected by the blast. It was more a case of tidying up after the effects of evacuating over 20,000 people from the shop yesterday. That's completed. The store's management reckon they'll be open for business almost as usual tomorrow, with only the bomb-damaged menswear department staying closed.
The Home Secretary, Leon Britton, has been visiting some of the injured in hospital. Among those he spoke to was a policeman who was only 15 yards from the bomb when it went off. PC Martin Holgate, who's 22, was in Hans Crescent outside Harrods when he was injured in the right thigh. Another policeman, dog handler John Gordon, lost his right leg in the explosion.
Thank you. Your cash. Yes.
Afterwards, Mr. Britton was asked whether police precautions would now make it safer for the public to go out shopping.
Well, everybody's got to make their own decision, as I've said yesterday, of course we can't guarantee, even with all the extra effort that the Commissioner has put in, that there will not be further trouble. But I think that if we stopped going shopping and hid at home, we'd be giving the biggest possible victory to the terrorists. That's what they want, but everybody's got to decide what they should do.
Police say the Harrods bomb was much bigger than they first thought. Initial estimates put the bomb at between 10 and 15 pounds. Now police think up to 30 pounds of explosive were packed into the car. Tonight, Scotland Yard put on display a car similar to the one blown up in Knightsbridge. It's an Austin 1300 GT with a black vinyl roof. The one used in yesterday's bombing was a darker blue. The head of Scotland Yard's anti-terrorist squad appealed to anyone who recognises the licence number or the car to contact police immediately.
Well, what we're asking the public to do is to look at the car and try to think back to yesterday, Saturday lunchtime, around about the 12 noon period. That car was parked on a parking bay in the road beside Harrods, and somebody must have seen it. Either a traffic warden or a member of the public or another motorist who was trying to get his car into that particular parking space when this car may have just slipped in front of him.
Presumably you must know something about the car's history by now.
Yes, we know a great deal about the history of the car.
Is there anything you can tell us about that?
Not at the moment. Those are lines we are following ourselves.
The IRA tonight issued a statement admitting that their members were responsible for the Harrods car bomb, but they say the bombing hadn't been authorised by the IRA's Army Council, and steps had been taken to ensure that there would be no repetition of this type of operation. Our Northern Ireland political correspondent says such a statement is rare, but the government will be very sceptical that the Harrods bomb was not fully approved by the IRA leadership in Dublin. The view is that any denial is a smokescreen to try to deceive Sinn Féin sympathisers in Britain, and he points out that IRA sources made no attempt to deny reports that a Christmas bombing campaign was on the way. Storm force winds have blown down part of a polytechnic building in Plymouth, but because it was the weekend, the building was empty. Hundreds of tons of masonry crashed down from a tower block to the canteen building below, demolishing the roof. If it had been a weekday, scores of students and staff would have been there. Police say the canteen is too dangerous for anyone to enter. A caretaker who was missing for 5 hours after the collapse has now been found. That's all from me on BBC2 for tonight. Good night.
And the wet and very windy weather in the south will spread northwards overnight. Tomorrow many northern parts will be cold, dull and wet, although sheltered northwestern Scotland will be mostly dry. In the south it will be brighter, but showery, with the heaviest showers near the coasts. Temperatures will be similar to today's, mostly between 5 and 9 centigrade, that's 41 to 48 Fahrenheit.
Christmas on BBC2. There's mystery and the macabre in Frankenstein, the True Story.
A new era in science is beginning. There are signposts everywhere, pointing the way, but they daren't go forward. The new science offers power. And power terrifies them.
What kind of power?
Power over death.
You shall see what no scientist in the world has yet seen. In this very room, at 7 o'clock this evening.
Frankenstein, the true story, tonight at 10:15. Christmas on BBC2.
In 50 minutes, Pranks, a documentary featuring the variety of groups which have arisen since the first of the singing telegrams, including stripping nuns, who set up in business with the help of a government grant, an over-amorous couple intent on livening up sedate parties, and numerous larger-scale practical jokes. Now on to Ludovic Kennedy asks, did you see?
If you want to understand us, you must understand our philosophy, and you can reject it, but understand. We have such a saying, don't intrude in another man's monastery with your own Bible. You see? Your Bible is good for you. Our Bible is good for us. If there is something wrong in our Bible, we suffer.
That was Mela Sturoa, foreign news editor of Izvestia, following the late Nikita Khrushchev's precept that every duck praises its own marsh. Mr. Sturoa, the letters of whose first, though not Christian name, Melor, stands for Marx, Engels, Lenin, October Revolution, was interviewed in last week's Global Report by Peter Frantz. He also took part in an Izvestia editorial conference whose problems seem not dissimilar to those of Fleet Street.
This meeting at 9:30 is not to discuss today's news. It's for Melor to outline to the editorial board what's already in tomorrow's paper, which he has in proof in front of him.